Damn, that thing is smooth as hell, dude. Hell yeah. Very nice.
She's a shooter, man.
What is happening, all of you sexy warriors out there? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite large frame ARs to date, and that is the MRGG-A from LMT. This one is a 14.5 inch chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. And where did this thing start? Let's go back all the way to the beginning. Like most new platforms, they are birthed from a request from our military. This one actually was a secondary request or a follow-up to the original request, which was for the MRGG-S. MRGG standing for mid-range gas gun, S being a part of that being sniper. That variant has a 20-inch 6.5 Creedmoor barrel. That was the contract requirement. Now the A was later asked for as an addition to the MRGG-S program, and the A stood for assaulter, and so they wanted a 14.5 inch or a typical M4 carbine length barrel for an AR-15. That is the exact same barrel length as this 14.5 here, the MRGG-A, but chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. So not only do you increase the effective range of said infantryman or soldier, whoever's carrying this, but you're also increasing the energy on target with those impacts. So it's a very cool program, but like many things, starts from a military request. Now, a lot of the usual suspects did bid on this contract. We had Geisley winning the MRGG-S program, so they are awarded that contract, so they're making rifles currently to fulfill that contract. Now, as far as this video is being filmed, the MRGG-A has not been awarded to any one company. You had Geisley, you had LaRue, you had LMT, you had several others bidding on the contract, but as far as I know, the military has not decided who has won the MRGG-A contract, but I do know that the court of public opinion, the internet, has decided that LMT should be awarded for this gun because this thing is an absolute dream to shoot. So let's start there. Let's start at the beginning and talk about the accuracy, because obviously that is one of the most important things in a mid-range gas gun setup like this one is. And we're going to start off from the very beginning with this barrel right here, which was loaned to the channel by a subscriber and a longtime supporter of the channel, Steven. You know who you are. Big shout out to my buddy Steven for letting me borrow this, along with many other things that he's provided to me over the years. So thank you, Steven. This here is a 14.1 inch stainless steel thick boy barrel. This is a Ballistic Advantage 6.5 Creedmoor that he sent to D. Wilson Manufacturing to have it reworked so that it would fit in the MRP upper, which stands for Monolithic Rail Platform Upper, which is LMT's proprietary design. It is one piece of solid machined aluminum from the upper receiver to the handguard, and you have these two bolts here in the back, as you'll see in some of the footage of me swapping these barrels out after accuracy testing both. And so it's a really cool platform, but you were stuck with LMT barrels for the longest time. But now more recently, actually I don't know when they started, but D. Wilson Manufacturing came on my radar more recently when my buddy Steven told me about this barrel that he had converted, because prior to D. Wilson now selling the 14.5 MRGG-A barrels directly from LMT, you had to go this route. But the internet screamed loud enough that LMT and D. Wilson combined forces to bring these to market, which is awesome. He got this barrel on a sale with Ballistic Advantage. I think he got it for around $200, so it was super cheap. Then he sent it to D. Wilson for the conversion, which was not crazy expensive either. I can't remember exactly what the number was, but I think it's around $200, maybe cheaper, maybe give or take $50. It's within that ballpark. So all in, he got pretty close to an MRGG-A clone-ish with this barrel for around $400, $450. So not bad to get into the game. With D. Wilson offering these services, the possibilities are pretty much endless for what type of barrel you want to run. And this thing was no slouch. So for the accuracy portion, which I'll roll on the screen now, we shot a 5-round group with the ballistic advantage barrel. We then loosened these 2 screws over here with the LMT torque wrench, which is a very simple, quick, easy tool to use in the field. It just has one setting. You can loosen it or tighten with this torque wrench, which is great. It's not cheap, but it is a must to have if you want to invest in this platform. It's about 110 bucks on Brownells, but again, it's worth every penny. So using this in the field, we swap barrels out. Unfortunately, when you swap barrels, you do have to remove all your M-LOK attachments, including these D. Wilson ARCA rails for this upper right here. So unfortunately, I did have to go through and undo all these M-LOK slots, which is not a big deal because again, you're probably not gonna be swapping barrels that quickly in the field, but if you do intend to do that, just know that you will have to take off all your M-LOK attachments. Now, once we switched over to the LMT barrel, we shot another 5-round group. So right here, we have our target that we were shooting at. So this first group certainly was a flyer. I felt myself pull that one, so we'll exclude that one from the ballistic advantage group size there. And if we measure from center to center, we're looking at just over 2 inches, so 2¼ inches from center to center at the widest spread for these groups here, for those guys. And then for the LMT barrel, we're looking at right at, let's see here, let's go right on the 1 inch line. We're looking at right at under 1 inch for this group here at the widest point. So very happy with this. You'll see our original 0 was with that ballistic advantage barrel right here, and we were a little bit high there. The second aiming point for this group right here was this, the bottom of this diamond here. And so it was substantially lower. So we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches low with just 0.4 inches of extra barrel. So kind of weird. Don't really know how to explain that, but we adjusted it and then we re-zeroed here. I did move 1 click left, 1/10 of a mil left after zeroing this group here. But again, that group is phenomenal at under 1 inch. This one is a little bit wider. Let's see how big this one is. This one's about 2¼ inches, but again, shooting through tall grass, not the most ideal situation. Target stand was moving, again, not making excuses, but with me as a shooter, I am very pleased with those results. So after we accuracy tested this, we got some chrono data, we zeroed it, we ended up taking this thing out to the 450-yard marker where originally we proned out with the MDT SkyPod. This is an absolute beast of a bipod, I gotta say. I absolutely love this thing. This is one of the best bipods on the market. For full disclosure, MDT did send this to me because it is not a cheap bipod, but I absolutely love it. And now that I've used it, I'm definitely gonna be using it on a lot more builds, PRS matches and whatnot, but I don't think anything really even compares to the quality of this thing, but it is up there. It's the cost of some AR-15s. This is kind of unbelievable. I think it is worth the money. If you are a serious long-range shooter, this thing is badass. So, and let's get back to the MRGG-A. So 450, obviously 0 issues for this thing. I was holding about 3 mils between 2.9 and 3.1-ish on a C-zone size steel at 450 yards. I was holding just on the left half of the plate, so very little wind obstruction. You don't really need to worry about the wind with this super fast round. We were pushing about 2349 average velocity, 2344. Thanks to the KDG Garmin mount that they have. It's their quick detach for M-LOK. It's a phenomenal system. Again, another little piece of kit that I think moving forward, I really couldn't live without now that I've used it. It sucks just setting up a Garmin, depending on where you're at. A lot of the time, the chrono doesn't want to set perfectly straight. But again, it is a very highly specialized tool for certain individuals who take long-range shooting very seriously. It's not really necessary for the vast majority of people, but it is a very cool piece of kit that KDG sent out to the channel, so thank you again to them. And with that attachment, we were able to get a large sample size using 147 grain ELDMs from Hornady, which is what we grouped it with. We only had 1 ammo type, so keep that in mind moving forward. But with that ammo type, I know for sure with a 40-round group that my average velocity was 2344. So with that, punching it into Applied Ballistics gives me all my data. And according to Applied Ballistics, we are supersonic out to 1,000 yards. So after looking at the data, I realized that I accomplished my goal, which was getting one gun that I could use from 0 to 1,000 yards. That's not only gonna remain supersonic out to those distances, but when it arrives, have some authority on target. So after we shot this thing at a bunch of unknown ranges off the tank trap, and then also just clapping it repeatedly at 450 from different positions, we moved it out to 650. Again, using the Stoic Streamline barricade bag off of a fence, no rear tripod support. Wanted to make it a little bit more difficult, again, because we're not shooting out past 650, at least we haven't yet. I wanted to challenge myself a little bit and not use a rear tripod for support, which makes it much, much easier to get those impacts at distance. And this gun, once again, got it done with relative ease. I was holding a 1/2 mil of wind in a 14.565 with 10 to 15 mile an hour winds out here in Central Texas. So again, the 6.5 ballistic coefficient flying super slick through the air made it easy, even in a non-ideal position, kneeling off of a barricade without a rear support, made it pretty easy to get those impacts at 650 yards. Now, unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to take this to RPR yet. This is a more of a first impressions review, but I have been extremely satisfied. Now I want to talk about reliability. With this barrel, we only have about 120 rounds through it of the Hornady 147 grain ELDMs. So again, small sample size, one ammo type, so keep that in mind, but we had zero issues whatsoever. And I think a lot of that is attributed to not only the quality of the build, but also not putting a bunch of back pressure into the system with a traditional baffle stack can. We are using the Flow 762 Ti here, a flow-through can that probably needs clean, so it probably has a little bit less of the flow-through qualities right now because it's got thousands of rounds on it and it's never been cleaned. Now moving back from there, it is mounted up on the Huxworks flash hider. We'll skip past that to the barrel. So this is a 14.565 Creedmoor LMT barrel. It is their stainless steel barrel. It does feature their pin gas block, their straight gas tube, and again, their proprietary mount-up system here in the back. Shot phenomenally well. You guys saw the accuracy firsthand. You guys saw it perform out the distance. It works, it just works. So as far as full disclosures go, I did purchase this barrel with my own money from D. Wilson Manufacturing. I was not willing to wait around and let them go out of stock, so I just decided one day I was gonna buy it and then deal with it later, and so that's exactly what we did. Now as far as the upper receiver here, I purchased with my own money from Brownells. Brownells is the biggest sponsor of the channel. If you guys do want to support the channel, you could use bro code RDB10. Now, as far as the upper receiver group goes, this is a pretty special upper. Again, we've already talked about it a little bit, but the quality and the precision and the durability just does not come across on camera. When you hold this thing, yes, it is stout, but it's not overly heavy, but it just feels absolutely rock solid because it is one piece of solid aluminum between the upper and the handguard. There's no seam, there's no barrel nuts, there's none of that. It is just a solid piece of machined aluminum. The rails down here do not come with the upper receiver. These were sent to me by D. Wilson Manufacturing. When I bought the barrel, I contacted them and asked them if they'd be willing to send these out, and they were, so thank you again to D. Wilson for sending these rails out. They're absolutely phenomenal. They fit perfectly. They fit seamlessly. It almost looks like they should be there from the factory. That's why it's great to have companies like D. Wilson who will support the consumers on the aftermarket side. These rails are what I'm using to attach my 2Vets tripod to the MRP upper, and also what I use for the SkyPod MDT bipod, and it works phenomenal. They're really good quality, and the fit and finishes, it matches the rest of the rifle. Now moving into the inside of the upper receiver group, here we do have the LMT OEM bolt carrier group. It's chrome. I'm really not sure about all the specs, to be quite honest with you. It's very expensive. Again, I did purchase this with my own money, Rifle Gear up in Dallas. Did not get a discount code, did not get any special treatment on that. I just drove up to Dallas and bought it because they're very hard to find. I think it was around 600 bones after tax, so pretty up there as far as cost goes. But again, have had no issues with it. Total round count on this bolt carrier group is around 750 rounds, approximately, between mostly 308 and then now some 6.5 Creedmoor as well. Back here we have the Geisley Super Charging Handle. It is my favorite charging handle. Again, when I bought this upper, it was a stripped upper from Brownells, so it didn't have a charging handle or a BCG. I decided to go with the LMT BCG, but I did prefer the Geisley charging handle. From what I saw, I've never used the LMT charging handle. I'm sure it's fine, but again, for around the same price, the Geisley is my favorite, so that's what I decided to go with. Now moving down to the lower receiver, this was sent out to me by LMT for full disclosure, so shout out to them for supporting the channel and helping me get this project moved along, because again, another not cheap part. Brownells does sell these. You can use my discount code with them, so it cuts it down a little bit, but they're around 1,200 bucks, give or take, depending on the sale that they're running, but a phenomenal lower. This is what makes the Mars. The Mars, it's completely ambidextrous. So you have an ambidextrous magazine release, ambidextrous bolt release on the right side of the gun as well, ambidextrous safety selector, which is pretty standard. On the other side of the gun, you have the same ping pong paddle bolt release as any normal AR-15 would have, and then a very well shielded magazine release, which I can appreciate. It is not a built-in trigger guard, but it is very much oversized, which I can appreciate, having large hands if you're gonna run it with gloves. Pistol grip, not the greatest thing in the world. It's good. I don't really like a rubberized texture. I don't know if Ergo makes this or who makes this for LMT. They might make it themselves. I'm not a huge fan, but it's okay. Now, as far as the trigger goes, the trigger is pretty good, I would say. Certainly not as good as a Geisley, in my opinion, but I would say it's more than acceptable for a DMR precision type gun. It is a 2-stage trigger, so we'll ghost this thing for you guys right here. There's the first stage there, a little bouncy, probably about 2.5, 3 pounds there. You hit the wall, more and more pressure, a little bit of creep, and then a break. And as far as the reset goes here, let's see. Very positive, kind of kicks your finger out, back on the wall. Grit, and then a break. So certainly not as clean as something like a Geisley, $250 Geisley trigger, but again, it comes with a really decent trigger. I don't think the trigger is going to hinder you in getting accurate hits out the distance. It's not bad enough for me to replace for now, especially in this configuration. If I went with the S and built a longer 20-inch 6.5 upper for this thing to shoot out to greater distances, I would likely change that out. But for an assaulter version, it is more than adequate for this role. Magwell is pretty standard. It has a little bit of a flare to it to make it easier to insert your mags, but nothing crazy there. It does take SR 25 pounder magazines, so here we're running a Magpul PMag, which is very nice. They're very affordable comparatively to the Scar mags and the HK mags, and they're much smaller and they fit into pouches a lot easier as well. So a big fan that they decided to not reinvent the wheel there. Going back to the buffer tube, guys, standard buffer tube, I would say it kind of looks almost like a clear anodizing. I don't know what kind of coating they have on it, but it's a very tight lockup between the buttstock and the actual buffer tube itself. Properly staked castle nut. We have an LMT stock on the back. It resembles a B5 SOP mod. I don't know what LMT calls it, if it's called the SOP mod, but anyways, it's one of my favorite stocks ever. Really nice cheek weld on here. And with that being said, let's just talk about a few of the other attachments that I have on here. We've already mentioned a few. So starting back at the front, we do have the Huxworks Flow 762 Ti. We've already talked about this a little bit, but it is a full titanium can. It's not a small can, but it's not huge either. It just works. It's full auto rated, even though it's titanium. To the shooter, it sounds amazing. Downrange, or if you're under a pavilion or something like that, you can tell it gets noticeably louder because the echo of that blast coming out of the front comes back into your ears. But otherwise, a very solid can. I'm a big fan of it. Moving to the upper, we have already talked about the D. Wilson Arco rails here, so we'll skip over that. Here we have a Neo Mag, I believe it is the company that makes this Sentry strap. I forget what it's called exactly, but it is a magnetic strap that goes on your handguard and it retains your sling, because there's nothing worse than your sling bouncing all over the place. It just has a little magnet in here. So very easily comes down, and toolless, thoughtless, you just put it into place. It holds pretty well. I met these guys at GunCon and I just decided to buy one because they're like 35, 40 bucks. So I just bought one and it works great. So as far as the sling goes, we are running the HRT Tactical Sling. This is their padded version. This is my favorite padded sling. I was running for a long time the Blue Force Gear Vickers slings, but I didn't like how thick the padding was on those. It was very hard to stow it away on the gun, fold it up and pack it, so to speak, for vehicle work, for being in a bag. And so, but I missed the padded version for when I had those long days out at the range and classes from wearing a plate carrier. The non-padded versions kind of start to cut into your skin a little bit and really rub you raw. So I do like that this is padded, but it's not too thick. It's like the perfect thickness, folds really easily, stows away easily, and it's a super smooth glide on the adjuster. So very high quality sling. I'm a big fan of these, and you can use bro code RDB5 over at HRT to pick yourself up one. I'm not just saying that because I have a code with them. If I didn't believe in it, I would never offer a code or work with them whatsoever. It wouldn't even show up on the channel. But I am a huge fan of these slings, so you can buy one and support the channel at the same time. Now, moving back a little bit further, we've already talked about the Stoic Streamline Barricade bag, but I just want to emphasize how cool this bag is. The quality of the materials is phenomenal. This is only a 3-ounce accessory. You don't notice it's there. Very high quality, uses 100 Concepts, 3D printed like snap clasps for you to rope the bungee cord into. Super easy to install, and it makes a world of a difference shooting off a barricade if you don't have a tripod or a bipod or a sandbag, a separate sandbag. So it's pretty much a sandbag for your rifle. Super lightweight, love it. Little Magpul QD up here on the top. For our optic, we are running a LaRue mount, and in that mount is the Steiner T6XI. I did choose the wrong reticle when I asked them to send this out, which they did send it out for full disclosure. LaRue also sent out the scope mount, but I chose the wrong reticle. I thought it was the one that had the Christmas tree and the wind hold, which is what I really prefer, especially for when I'm shooting out the distance. This one does not, and it did make it a little bit more difficult to get those impacts at distance, holding off into open space. But again, because the high BC of the 6.5, it wasn't too difficult because I was only holding about a 0.5 mil. Now, if I was shooting at further distances, I may decide to swap this optic out for that reason, but for now, it is a phenomenal piece of glass. It has locking turrets, so you literally just twist it like righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. When it's left, you can go ahead and adjust, and when it's right, it's locked into place. Very solid. Has parallax and illumination built right in, and it's a pretty solid price point for Steiner glass. Phenomenal glass. I'm a big fan of this optic here. And the mount's great as well. I just wish I had the option to do a top dot on here. You can do like a top offset, but not a direct 12 o'clock mount, which is a kind of a bummer. Now that pretty much summarizes the accessories that I have on this, guys. We already talked about the MDT SkyPod, a do-it-all rock solid bipod, so I can really appreciate that. And we also already spoke to the Kinetic Development Group QD for the Garmin chronograph. So that covers everything as far as the setup goes. So what are my final conclusions about the MRGG-A from LMT? I gotta say, guys, I absolutely love this rifle. Probably comes to no surprise to you guys because I like nice things, and this is one of the nicest rifles that money can buy. That being said, it is not a cheap setup by any means. It is very expensive the way it sits today, so it is not for everybody. Don't go out thinking you need this or you're gonna get killed in them streets. I'm not saying that at all, but it is a phenomenal rifle. If you wanna have one gun to kind of do everything with, I would really highly consider this thing because it is just that good. If I had to say something bad about it, I would say that I wish LMT would just offer all of their uppers with a forward assist. That is one thing that is, again, not clone correct whatsoever about this rifle. This is not a true MRGG-A because the MRGG-A has a longer handguard. This is, I believe, a 12.5 inch. The MRGG-A has a 13.5 inch handguard, and it also has a forward assist on here. There may be some other small details, but those are the two major ones that come to top of mind. So I do wish it had a forward assist because why not? That's my whole opinion on forward assists. Like, why not? They take up very little space and weight on the gun. But with that being said, that's kind of my only complaint. Oh, and one final complaint is the little block over here on the left side of the gun that does not allow you to install an FRT trigger or a FA trigger. So that is very disappointing. LMT, why? I don't understand why that is there, but it shouldn't be. And I would love to see the new lowers coming out without that piece there, so that it is not cucked and cannot accept the fun switches, which is our constitutional right. I'm not telling anyone to do anything wrong, but you know what I mean. So it would be really cool to put an FRT in one of these and create like a LMG, civilian LMG. So that's another thing that kind of annoyed me about it, but otherwise, LMT has made a fanboy out of me. I gotta say, everything that they do is top notch. And same thing with D. Wilson. Every time I call, either talk to Dave or his right-hand man. So I'm a big fan of both of the companies. I'm very excited about the stuff that they're doing. They're finally bringing the MRGG-A to market. Now, as far as I know, you can buy a full MRGG-A rifle from D. Wilson Manufacturing as of today. Maybe it's pre-order. They are not cheap, I will warn you right now. But if you want to go the route that I did, you can part this thing out on Brownells using my discount code and get it for a relatively affordable price. The barrels will have to probably come from D. Wilson. I don't believe that Brownells is gonna get these because I think this is an exclusive deal. Again, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do know that the uppers, the lowers, the BCGs, when you could find them in stock, are all on Brownells. So if you want to acquire this, I would probably go the route of parting it out. Buy the complete lower from Brownells, buy the stripped upper, then you can put whatever BCG you want in it. The LMT's been great for me, but you don't need to have a $600 BCG for this thing to run. But that's the route I went, and you guys can make up your own mind on that. So if you guys are still here, thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. If you do want to support the channel, please head over to rangedaybro.com. You can use our discounts page, find all our affiliate links and codes over there. Also subscribe to our email list, check out our loadouts page, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all the support. And as always, Christ is King. Drink a lot of water. Stay safe. Stay dangerous. Range Day Bro, out. Hell yeah.